in a year that they've been to Saudi Arabia, and that then they're trying to maximize the overseas trips by going other places. That's a lot of extra miles on these wrestlers flying, thousands upon thousands of miles already a year, and then you're asking them to take these long, grueling trips across the world, basically. And I think he was feeling it, and I hope he does get that reduced schedule. And he's a special attraction, and in my opinion, should be treated on par with a Brock Lesnar. If that's what the type of contract he wants to get and the schedule he wants to work, all this will prolong his career. And just like the Undertaker, I'm not saying he wrestles once a year, but you want to drag out, or spread out, dare I say, as many years as you can of getting him in a high quality main events. I'd say give the man what he wants.
So we've talked a lot about like the problems and things like that with WWE. My solution to the WWE problem, the poor booking, everything that's going on, the injuries, I completely agree with you. Having these amazing wrestlers come on as attractions my solution is more NXT call-ups. What are your thoughts on that?
I would say, as great as the talent is in NXT, you got to look at the body of work these guys have put out since they were called up, Brock. So a lot of these guys, once they're called up, are not used in the same creative fashion they're using NXT. So you're left with a lot of disappointments. So I mean, and that's not to the talent of the performers; it's in how they're being treated once they are on Raw or SmackDown. So I don't know if that's the answer, because if you're going to bring up a Velveteen Dream, or if you're going to bring up an Aleister Black or any Tommaso Ciampa, like, where are you going to put them and how are you going to use them? They're still struggling to find a good way to use Samoa Joe, and that also flabbergasts me, because I'm like, Samoa Joe, one of the best performers you could see on the mic, he's believable, in the ring he's believable, and it's almost like they're punishing him still for something that
the Samoa Joe thing just pisses me right off.
Yeah,
I agree with you 100%. I don't understand what they're doing.
That Finn Balor.
And he lost again to AJ Styles over the weekend at their little house show Starrcade. Like, again, I don't understand why. Why does Vince hate Samoa Joe?
Not the prototypical monster. I mean, they're about to bring up Lars Sullivan, another Vince monster that he wants to fill the roster with. And as long as Vince McMahon, I think, has got the full creative power and reign in there, the business is probably still going to be held on to a certain degree. And I get why, and it's like the carnival attraction, the freaks sell the most tickets, but the business and the times have changed where people want to see different things. I mean, a lot of the old school guys, they don't like the high spot fest and the stuff, but I think it's proven commodity that's outside the WWE, the elite, which is the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, Cody, Hangman, and Marty Scurll. All those guys, they got their own YouTube show with thousands and thousands upon viewers, and they're doing quite well for themselves outside of WWE. The times have changed, and I think you got to embrace no matter what it is. And a lot of times it's been proven WWE is very reluctant. They say they listen to their fans, but they're very reluctant to finally, because they plan out these things well in advance. So sometimes over a year in advance, they know which guy they're going with, and the fans, once they get a little taste of that, they don't want to be told who to cheer for. Cheer for who they cheer for. We all are fans, whether, that's why we're talking about it. And we know who we like. WWE can tell you who to like, but we know who we like. And at the end of the day, when you buck that system because you're stubborn, you're going to be left with the reactions they get for these guys they're trying to push.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, I agree with you on that. I just feel like if we had some better writing, some better creative, and we use the NXT call-ups and we use these young guys to be the workhorses, and you reserve your, quote-unquote legends for, some of the more attractive spots on the card, and you have, the younger guys from NXT come up and be the workhorses and have them work the longer, the more daunting schedules, you're going to prolong the life of these of some of the other talents like AJ Styles and things like that, so you can promote them more. That's my thoughts on the matter, anyways.
Yeah, that's, now it's going to get even crazier with the big Fox thing. They don't want to cross-promote Raw. Fox is going to have SmackDown, and they want it to be their own show, so the brands are going to stay split for the time being, as far as we know. And then NXT, I think, might be part of the FX deal. So a lot of that stuff, we're going to have to see what happens. There's just so many hours of wrestling as it is right now. I think it's just tough to stay creatively motivated, I believe, for these writers. They go through writers like crazy, and it's just so tough when you have 3 hours on Monday for Raw, 2 hours on SmackDown. NXT inevitably is always going to look better because you have an hour, where you can let storylines build better. You don't have to throw everything out there, and it's just, I think once you get to that Raw and SmackDown roster where you're trying to fill all that time, it's just too many hours of television, but it's so much ad revenue that WWE isn't going to change this formula because they're getting paid for 3 hours. They're not going to request to be back down to 2. They're just going to do whatever they can to push their performers, writers, and whoever's in the creative process to fill better quality, to do as, give us better quality programming. But sometimes it's burnout, in the same matches over and over again.
All right. Well, that is an interesting outlook on wrestling. I think it's interesting that wrestling has been around for so long. Look at the history behind wrestling, and WWE is definitely the staple of professional wrestling in the world. And it's always going to be, it's just going to be watched by millions. And I think that's why it's just interesting that it is amazing, in my opinion, how storyline after storyline, these writers have to come up with something to continue to entice the fans to watch every Monday and Thursday and pay-per-views. There just seems to be so much like saturating the market. But we're going to go ahead and wrap this episode up, and then we're going to come back and discuss the matches with our panel here with Rocky and MC. So I'm Jester, and we are Me Podcast You Listen. Make sure you check us out on iTunes, follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and we will catch you on the next episode.